I was like, she of course never did, but touch me. I was ready to grab something.
You just want one, right?
For which?
Of anything, you just want one copy of timestamp?
One copy of the these stamps and one
Okay, yeah, I gave the other ones to Ryan. That's my
the
copy.
timestamp copies, I want to give it to you guys on the field. I'll have yours. Original same here. Ryan and I can make a footnote.
So I can get it back from him if you want, he's got 4 copies.
Yes, I usually get one, because our president says 2.
Okay.
So you get one, this original and one time. That's okay. And then the B&P
Second
agreement.
you're going.
The B&P, first,
Meeting's over.
the B&P agreement for 1025.
No, I said I said that last year, this year.
Yeah, you are. Sorry, I never.
Maybe I'll say it this year.
Yeah, we absolutely are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the West Goshen Township Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, September the 16th. To start the meeting, will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be aware this meeting is being live streamed on YouTube, and the meeting may also be audio or video recorded by people present in the room. Our first item of business is public comment. So this is the opportunity for anyone with a comment, question, or an issue to raise with staff and the board about anything that is not on the agenda tonight. Is there anyone with a public comment? Yes, Doug.
Good evening, everyone. Doug White, West Goshen. I have 2 comments. First one is a question. At the last historical meeting, we had some discussion, Historical Commission, very informally about the budget for the commission, and would the board be open to a recommendation from the commission as to what that budget would be?
Sure, absolutely. If you have a specific proposal, I mean, obviously you guys are working through some of the America 250 activities, right? So if you have a specific idea and plan, bring it into the budget process.
Okay. So I would like and I'll bring it up at the next meeting for us to have more of a deliberate discussion with the public involved, and so we can have an advisory vote. That's all.
Doug, just so you're aware, so Ken Lear in our office, he handles the budget for the Historic Commission and kind of acts as sort of de facto staff liaison, sort of me and him. So if the Historic Commission does want to make a budget request, I would submit it to Ken.
Okay. All right. And the second comment I would like to make, in the world outside the township, I'd like to express my sadness at the loss of Charlie Kirk. I would like to wish his family condolences of blessed memory. Charlie Kirk, a good man. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Is there anyone else with a question or comment under this agenda item? Very good, then we'll move on to agenda item number 4, which is the 2026 capital projects and updated 10-year plan review. On my agenda, I make sure so the board's introducing this, so I'll do that. Before the board this evening is a discussion regarding capital projects for the 2026 budget and an update to the township's 10-year capital plan. Township staff have held a meeting on August the 18th to discuss updates to the capital plan. The total 2026 capital plan across all departments is $1,440,412 and is divided between administration, engineering, parks, police, roads, sewer, and facilities. And we're going to have a discussion about the details in the plan this evening. There's additional information, but we have with us many staff members tonight, so welcome and thank you for being here. In terms of a process, I suggest that we just, the board has had a chance to look at the detailed line items that are included in the capital plan budget for 26, and we'll just go through those in department order and see if there's any specific items that are to be challenged or added or whatever else. And obviously at any time, if I would like it, if the public has any comment on what's being discussed, just raise your hand and we'll recognize you to ask a question or comment. Chris, if you don't mind, would you mind taking us through the department list, by department as to the proposed capital budget?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So the first department we have is the administration, and there's nothing proposed for 2026 in the township's capital plan.
Thank you.
Quick question on that. There's 4 vehicles, none of which are scheduled for next year to be replaced, but there are 4 over 2027, 2028, 2029. They're listed as to be replaced in kind. Is there any consideration for these to be electric vehicles?
We've outlined, it looks like, one in 2027, which was one of the codes department vehicles to be replaced. The zoning vehicle, John, was there a reason why we didn't mark that one for an electric vehicle? I can't remember. It's the zoning one in 2027, car number 18.
I don't remember why that wasn't, but I think it was just the 2 code pickup trucks that were to be replaced with electric vehicles.
So I mean, we can look at an electric option for those two vehicles. That's certainly an option. But I would look to John to see what the comparable would be.
Yeah, so we've got some time to look at that. It's not for a couple of years for some of those vehicles. So as we continue to learn and gain experience with operating the EVs that we have in admin, we can certainly see that it'll be an appropriate duty for that type of vehicle.
We did replace this year the fire marshal vehicle that was an SUV with an electric F-150 Lightning, and by all accounts it's been working out well. So yeah, we can look at those options.
Okay, thank you, John. Any other questions on admin? Very good, we'll move on to the next one, which is engineering.
We have no items outlined in the capital plan for the 2026 budget for engineering. I'll defer to Brian. Brian, are there any items that you'd like to discuss with the board?
No, we don't, right now we're good for 2026.
So we are good for 2026.
Thanks. And then next is parks.
All right, so I am going to defer to Mike Cacavel on this. The two major items are the playground replacements in Hamlet Crest and South Concord Park. As the board may recall, these items were scheduled for replacement in 2025, but were shifted to 2026. So, Mike, are there anything you'd like to add about the playground equipment?
Just 25 years old and due for replacement. We have some wear and tear on some things, some metal showing from our last report from that inspection report. So we'd just like to get it replaced and have 2 separate playground equipment at South Concord and Hamlet Hill.
In our staff meeting back in August, it was pretty much determined by everyone that was there that they've reached the end of their useful life and are probably due for replacement.
And the costs that are shown, Mike, are they quotes or is it a placeholder you have?
Just a placeholder.
Okay.
It'll be below that.
I guess my question would be, how is that in the total realm of the project we're working on with school, where they're looking at all the parks and putting together a plan for improvements? Because I don't want to, if they do something totally different.
You mean with our urban space plan, is that what we're talking about?
The
Right
tool,
here?
yeah, the tool.
I haven't heard anything yet from
Okay, so I'm just wondering if we can coordinate those activities.
What's the timing of that plan?
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful to get a draft plan from Ann sometime before the end of this month. The last email I got from her was late last week that we should have it soon, like within the next week or 2. But I've been hearing that for quite some time.
Yeah, because I
Now,
want to hold off until we see what that plan is too.
I do not recommend doing that. this is, if we have an inspector showing that it's been wear and tear and it's 25 years old, this is replacement of equipment in time, in kind, this isn't adding new facilities. That plan was supposed to look at, potentially adding new facilities as well. Now, we have talked internally about including $200,000 in the budget as a placeholder for any items that are outlined in the plan. But I think given the age of this equipment, this is sort of outside of that scope of work.
Wasn't she considering replacing it with something else that's more robust or based on the feedback and the survey?
We haven't seen anything like that, but again, this is 25-year-old equipment.
So I think we have some time, right? Because assuming we do get a report in the next couple of weeks, we can digest that. This is a placeholder in a budget, to Mike's point. It's not a specific quote that we're committed to. We won't be expending this money until 2026 probably. We won't be having to place an order until January at least. So we've got time here in the fourth quarter to review the strategy that comes out, make sure that it continues to recommend that we have this kind of playground equipment at these parks, and then we just move forward there based on the board understanding that's the plan for those particular locations.
So what I'm hearing is then maybe we keep the money allocated, but base it off of any recommendations that come forward.
Yeah.
Is the board still okay with including an additional $200,000 based on anything that comes forward from the plan?
Additional.
On top of that, that would be in case there's any sort of improvements or amenities, maybe what I'll call like low-hanging fruit that we can go ahead and do.
So I was initially on that page, but listening to Mike say that he feels this is a generous amount. I mean, if we say 50,000 on each of these, we've got 100,000 for the low-hanging fruit, which might be a bit of a refresh at the skate park or some upgrade to the dog park or whatever else. So I think a $600,000 placeholder for parks capital improvements is a prudent way to go into a budget process, and then the specifics of what each of the items are in terms of the cost.
And it depends on the space that allows at each park, what equipment we're going to pick. So we have multiple brochures that we're going to look through. So we haven't picked anything yet. Like I said, it's just a placeholder, and it can come in way under that.
I'm good. So other board members, you good with 600,000 points?
Yeah.
All right.
And just for the note before we move on from parks, we do have placeholders in here for carryover, which were the splash pad and the family bathroom project. The family bathroom project will probably get bid out this fall, but I anticipate it will be carried forward, some of the costs into 2026. The splash pad absolutely will be carried forward into 2026. We probably won't hear about our grant application for DCD until sometime in the first quarter.
And what's the timing on the actual construction for the additional bathroom?
So we were hoping to complete construction in the fall, but we have to go through the approval process with the granting authorities before we can advertise everything for bid, which we're going through right now.
Yeah. Okay. Next is,
Just to clarify, that Supervisors 93, 94, 95 for the Goshen Park, the splash pad, and the family restroom. There's no numbers there for 2026. You're just carrying them over to 2025.
That's correct. I think, Mike, correct, I think we were, for the Greystone Park, we were looking at like $75,000 for the cameras, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
so that, question for Christine on this. So that 75,000, we put the security cameras in for Greystone, the park, the parking lot locations. Can we use the money that's earmarked for equipment from the developer that's supposed to come to the township to reimburse ourselves for that cost?
Question for you.
I think,
It did include maintenance.
so it did, if I'm remembering the bond issue correctly, there was a percentage for equipment and a percentage for a park endowment for like $832,000. And within that park endowment, it was supposed to be used for maintenance and upkeep of the park. So without having the documents in front of me, I do think it would be eligible to be reimbursed because it's involved with the Greystone Park. That's what the money was intended to be used for.
I believe there was a specific equipment list that was initially identified and costed as being something the developer would fund, so.
Correct, but I think we've told the developer that we would rather have the money, if I'm remembering correctly.
Okay, well, either way, it's the source of funds, so.
I think it could be.
Okay.
And when would that money be released to the township upon dedication of the park?
Yes.
And we probably won't put the cameras in the park is dedicated anyway, so I don't know that it would be reimbursed.
Okay, are we done with parks? Ready to move on, Chris?
So the next item is, the next category is police. police totals $325,995. And I'll defer to Mike on these items. There are a few vehicle replacements. I know the one big item is the camera replacements that are coming up.
So Mike, I had emailed you about the body cam and the vehicle cameras and the receiver for that. Would you mind just talking to what the technology improvement will be with that project?
So there's two facets to it. There is a technology improvement.
Would you mind correcting the mic?
Not at all.
Please.
There's two sides of that project. One would be a technology improvement, but more importantly, the company won't warranty the current equipment we have any longer. And it just gets damaged and breaks way too often to consider owning it without a warranty. They have changed their business practice a little bit. We can't just go buy what we want. It's a package deal that comes with things that we were paying separately before included and some things that are extra. But the improvements are going to be, we're going to move to a cloud storage instead of having 2 on-site servers. The system will come with a capability, although we would have to pay for phone cards, and I'm not prepared to do that yet. But if we wanted to view live cameras, when an officer's out on a call, you would, if you bought a cell phone card for it, you could view live. So those are probably two of the biggest. But it's,
And that feature isn't available today?
on our system, it's not.
No. So this upgrade system would allow it if you wanted to. You could
Correct.
do that. And will we get the warranty to cover the period from 26 when you get the new equipment through to the expected replacement date, which is 7 years out?
So the package that's on the table right now is for 5 years. And includes warranty, licensing, cloud storage, all of the equipment installation.
Would you be interested? I mean, we're showing our 10-year plan as a 7-year replacement cycle.
So that's what the old system was until they stopped warranting it a little early. But this one, at least on paper, it's a 5-year. Whether they'll allow us to extend it after that, I can't answer that question because they've changed this one.
We have to do that up to 2031.
Or-
2033.
Or we could ask Mike to negotiate a 7-year warranty on it now.
You can certainly ask. I'm not willing to negotiate with West Goshen, but we can ask.
Well, ask. I mean, maybe it will be an additional fee for the extra 2 years, but at least you'll have that option. We can decide whether it's within the budgeted amount and you want to take advantage of it or not.
Absolutely.
So we'll be in the same position. Happy with it works.
We don't, not that equipment. It's just breaks too, gets damaged too often.
Okay.
The police vehicles, you have 26 vehicles in the department, 4 of which are electric vehicles at this time, 2 are hybrid. There's 3 due to be replaced for next year. 2 are interceptors which are used for patrol, and there's issues still with electric vehicles being able to be used for patrol. Has there been any movement on that at this point, you know?
So we have 5 electric vehicles.
There's 5 there?
Yes. 5 electric vehicles, 2 hybrids, and the new vehicle that's not on the street yet that we ordered is also hybrid.
And the one to be replaced there, the Ford Explorer 119, item number 119, could that be an electric vehicle?
No, that's a vehicle used for patrol.
Okay.
So just, I think John was asking the point, is there any movement in some of the police departments around the nation around ability to use EVs in patrol duty, or are there still too many deficiencies relative to the
Naturally, I think
availability?
it's slowed down.
Yeah.
We're still evaluating. I think that the latest, we got the Chevy Blazer this year. It's got some improvements that the other cars didn't have, but it still isn't good enough to go 24 hours 90.
Okay.
And one of the big things you'll get with electric vehicles, they all advertise their mileage, their range, and it's a fake number.
Mhm.
It's just not real. It depends on so many other factors. It's almost something not to consider until you can actually test it yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, they're
What
hybrid.
about the hybrid? Is there anybody from the police department using a hybrid, a model
We have hybrids, and we just bought one that we're hoping
For
will work
patrol?
good. Yes,
for patrol?
yes.
Okay.
So are these 3 that are earmarked for patrol, are you looking at hybrid vehicles for those, or just?
Assuming the one that's not in service yet, assuming we don't have any problems with it, absolutely.
Okay.
And they're working fine, the hybrid ones so
So the
far?
first 2
Great.
we've had for years, they didn't work fine initially, so we moved them out of the 24-hour patrol because they weren't working fine.
Uh-huh.
But it's my understanding from talking to other departments, like Westchester, who's using it, that they fixed the problems that we experienced with those, so that's what we tried to begin.
Okay, and the hybrids we have, you don't have to charge them?
No, they're not plug-ins.
Okay, right.
Are you looking to purchase these vehicles, January the 1st of the new budget year, or are you they spaced throughout the year?
So we always try and order them early, but they
Yeah.
don't normally come in right away, and then we have to space them out with outfitting, because the outfitter can't outfit all the vehicles at once. So.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Mike relative to the police capital for 26? Okay, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Next is streets department.
All right, so there are, the total for the roads is $319,000. I will defer to Mike and John, who are here from Public Works, to discuss any of those items with the board. First two items are the trailer for the road saw and an air compressor. And then there are, it looks like, one major vehicle replacement, which is an international dump truck at $266,000, replacing a vehicle from 2014. And there's also an Atlas sandblasting cabinet that was purchased in 2012 that's being replaced at $6,500.
Yeah, so the big ticket item is the dump truck, right? It's the large capital item, 266 out of the 319 requested. So, and it's going to be 12 years old next year. What kind of shape is it in? Is it giving you problems maintenance-wise, John?
At the moment, it's not giving too many problems. This truck's replacement is also looking in the future of the 27 emissions. So getting it, when it's due to be replaced in 26, we were told basically to get it before the new emissions in 27.
Okay. So in other words, there's going to be a tighter emission standard for it, and that means it's going to be a more expensive vehicle if you delay another year or two, correct? Okay. Mike, anything to add? You good with it? Okay. Other questions from anyone?
Yeah, I have a question, John, on item 168, the trackless mower, the road bank mower. It was purchased back in 2011, due to be replaced not next year, but in 2027. It looks like it's on a 7-year replacement schedule, according to this, but it's already 14 years old, or will be 14 years old. Would it make sense to move that from 2027 to next year, to 2026? It would help also smooth out the cost for the budget for the road department. I guess what I'm getting at, what kind of shape is the road back mower now, and would it make sense to move that to next year rather than to wait another year?
Yeah, we're not sure what we're going to replace the trackless with yet. With Greystone coming up, it might be good to have it for the Greystone trails and things like that, with the boom mower and the flail mower and things like that, especially more of the serpentine bearings. So we're not too positive on the trackless yet, what we're going to do with it.
Oh, so you're not sure how you're going to be able to utilize it?
We're going to keep it, we're just not sure what we're going to replace it with. With the same, right, we're not sure what we're going to replace it with the same setup, or we're going to go something totally different.
So you want to get into Greystone next year, have a look at what you really need, and then when you look at 27, you'll know what exactly you want to.
Like I said, with the boom mower, it might help us over there with the trails, because we have to reach over some post and rail fencing. We have some stuff encroaching onto the trail system, so it might be beneficial to keep it. Like I said, we haven't figured out what we're going to replace it with yet, we're still looking.
Any other questions on streets? Very good. We'll move on to the next category, which is sewer.
So the next category is sewer, and there's only one replacement item, which is the case loader at $177,417. There are two carryover items, which were the Freightliner jet machine. Mike, is that the vehicle that we just got in? Okay, so that will not be carried forward because we did just acquire that vehicle. And then the portable trash pump. But the only new item is the case loader.
Mike, you have a dedicated case loader for sewer, you don't share it with streets?
That's correct. We use our.
All daily almost? Yeah. Any questions for Mike?
How old is that, Mike, now?
Maybe like 20.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like the purchase date was July of 2006.
You got a lot of wear out of that one if it's in use every day.
Yeah.
Well done. Any other questions? Okay, We'll move on to the next category, which is, get my glasses out, sorry. Facilities, yeah.
The only item that we have for facilities is the purchase of another EV charging station in the back parking lot. This is a component of the project that we did at the beginning of 2024 to expand the infrastructure.
As we've got maybe, well, we're not adding any new EVs next year though,
Not next year, but in 2027.
so you want to be ready for it.
Yeah, that was the discussion that we had.
Yeah. So just on that, I noticed the placeholders out in the 8-9 year time frame are at the lower value. We should update those prices based on what we're seeing now. So the 11,000 mic should be 18. Okay, I don't have any other questions on facilities. Does anyone else? I do know that we are, I believe, in the maintenance budget, looking to replace some of the sound system up here. Is that correct?
So in addition to the capital plan items, Christine went ahead and we outlined the other capital projects that are in other sections of the budget, provided that list to the board. Typically, we kind of have these as a discussion as the budget goes through, but we thought it was a good idea to sort of get out in front of some of these items. So they include some upgrades to our facilities, as well as some roads and stormwater projects.
So I'm just going to look under the, just for everybody here's benefit, under repairs and maintenance, we do have the reception area downstairs that we no longer have a reception presence during office hours. We're going to look to make that space usable for Parks and Rec folk.
So kind of the idea behind that was currently there's glass with like metal shutters on there, and the idea that Ken and Mike had was to sort of wall that off and turn it into a display area for like community events and other literature that we have.
Okay. And as I mentioned, this meeting room, we're looking at upgrading the sound system, and there's also a renovation needed in one of the police rooms in the police building. Forget what that was, Mike.
Was that for both rooms, Mike?
So when we got the prices in, they were higher than expected, so we're not doing the floor, that's just for the squadron.
It's just a squad room, okay.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about the discussion we've just had, or any comments on the capital plan for 26, Steve?
Yeah, I'm just curious as Christine's here, how we're looking this year as far as income and expenses go for the township based on previous years.
So I haven't gotten too far into the expense piece of it yet, but I think revenue-wise, we're definitely seeing the leveling off now that Grayson is just about completed. Revenue has definitely slowed down in terms of building permits and transfer tax and things like that. So once we get through more of the expenses, I'll have a better idea, but it's not something we didn't anticipate. So we've expected that, knowing that that was coming to an end.
As far as assets go, we have a lot of cash, is that correct? Is invested in CDs? And
We have some CDs.
is that like the 24 million? Is that still the monthly one?
I don't know offhand. I didn't bring, anything like that with me,
I know the
but,
budget's next month. I'm just
yeah,
trying to wrap my head around it.
our cash balances usually fluctuates, during the end of the year. It starts to decrease a little bit because that's when we have a lot of our one-time expenses that are coming up. So, as we get closer to when we do the preliminary budget, we'll have a better idea on that.
I just like the board to consider using some of the cash we have towards maybe something pushing forward, either sidewalk projects that we're talking about, or the stormwater projects. We have 16 or 17 things on the list, and they're not going to get cheaper as the years go on. And from what I've seen, it takes several years. But when we start these projects, just like the Roosevelt project, that's gone through 3 years before it's completed, when it was originally introduced. So,
2 years. 2 years. Just 23, and later on the agenda, the awarding the bids.
okay.
Sorry.
That's all right, but I know these things take years to process.
You're absolutely right, Steve, and if the budget process will be the same as last year. We're going to have 2 discussions on it. We're going to issue a preliminary budget. We're going to have an opportunity for people to make comments at that session. Then we're going to have a month and then approval of a final budget. As part of the preliminary budget, we'll be identifying some of these stormwater projects that are both in flight that we still got to pay for, like North Hills, and other projects that are going to be part of the MS4 permit compliance, etc. So we are still seeking grants to not drain our rainy day fund, so to speak. But we do have lots of projects earmarked for spending money on. And just looking at this list, we've got continued CI, the corrugated metal pipe, the CMP pipe. We're going to move on from Fresh Meadows up to Canterbury, which is the neighborhood up on the north end of the township, which we've had experiencing CMP failures over the last 3, 4, 5 years, and get ahead of the game on that. But that's another probably $500,000 to $1 million of investment in stormwater infrastructure. So you'll see these projects flowing through this budget.
Yeah, we're putting all that together now.
Can I just,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, to get over that? So just so, Steve, just so you're aware, so kind of what the chairman said, so our Public Works Department has outlined about just over $1 million in additional stormwater projects for next year, including looking at the other side of North Hill, plus CMP lining in Canterbury, as the chairman mentioned. We also have the project on Montgomery Avenue, which we're still waiting for grant funding for. That's going to carry forward into 2026. We're still waiting on the announcement from PennDOT for that. We have the restoration project, the stream bank restoration projects in our pollution reduction plan, which Brian's still waiting on a report for another one. We haven't put out any budgetary information on that because we don't have the report from land studies yet. And then we do have other projects that we've earmarked just in the event that if something occurs, the funding is there. So we'll put all of that together with the budget process.
Any other questions?
I just want to make a comment. I just want to thank the staff for putting together this capital plan. I think you guys did a pretty good job. Just in case of point, for parts, for example, there was a 3-year replacement schedule for the rotting lawnmowers. Now it's 5 years. I can never understand why every 3 years we had to buy another $20,000 rotting lawnmower. But now it's every 5 years. So I think that was a good move, a good adjustment. But anyway, I think you guys did a good job putting it together.
I echo those thoughts as well. Well done. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight as well. Thanks. Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item number 5, which is a discussion and possible approval of a proposal to upgrade the certain parts of lighting at the West Goshen Community Park. I'm going to pass it over to Chris.
Mr. Chairman, before the board this evening is a proposal from Lenai Electric Corporation to upgrade certain lighting in West Goshen Community Park. Specifically, these upgrades would occur around the amphitheater. The total cost of the proposal is $5,538, which includes a rebate from PICO in the amount of $350 for the upgrade of the existing lights to LED. Just for some background information, the township has received complaints about the lighting during evening events, and this upgrade is being sought to address these concerns and will be combined with tree trimming work done by the Public Works Department. So in reviewing the 2025 budget, there are funds available to complete this work in our parks maintenance allocation. And to date, there's been approximately 62% of that budget allocation that's been utilized, and there's remaining just under $33,000 remaining in that line item.
Are these solar
No, they're not solar. They're
LED LEDs.
and hardwired?
Mhm.
Okay.
Are they
We'll
going to
just
be,
remove the existing heads off of the existing site lighting poles and put new LED heads on top.
so if somebody complained about the lighting, then how
It's a little dark down there.
oh, like it wasn't enough light.
Not enough.
Yeah.
They're the old halogen porch lights, so they take a little while to warm up, and it's just not enough lumens to light up the area.
Well, I was one of the ones that complained. Yes.
No,
because
yeah,
I was-
The complaint wasn't about the condition of the lighting. The complaint was that it's too dark.
It's just dark.
I was at
That
a
makes
function, I was at a function the other night, and when you exit the amphitheater until you get to the first light pole, there is absolute black.
It's dark.
So it's not only the lighting itself, but it's the area, there's not enough coverage of lighting exiting the
So
amphitheater.
when you exit, I think the first lighting starts right at the playground.
It starts at the playground, and that's
Right
a
there.
long distance between there. I mean, I have my camera, my phone, light, but a lot of people may not have their cameras or, it's
So
really dangerous.
Yep, so we'll work from the amphitheater first, and we'll work our way down that path to the
Yep.
parking lot and get those upgraded.
The path was fine, once you get to the playground area,
Yeah,
into the
we-
parking lot.
We had put new corn cob lights in there, they're called, just for now, until we replace the head, so it's a little better coverage than the old lighting that was there.
Yeah, that's probably good too, but they're missing lights in that area.
Yep.
Yeah,
Just being conscious of the neighbors too, across the way.
correct. Yeah, but that's closer to the amphitheater than it is the street, so it shouldn't really affect them.
So I guess this is really two phases. You're going to upgrade the lighting here, which will get a big bang for the buck with the additional lumens from the LED versus
Correct.
what's there now. And then to Tina's point, if there's still a gap or a deficiency, you can address that with an additional light or two.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, just following up from that, have you had discussion with the contractor? I mean, these are selectable lumens. There's 3 levels of intensity. Have you decided which level you want to go with?
So I think it was like we're gonna go over 4K, just with the lighting, we don't want to go 5K, it's a little bright, like these are 5K here, these LEDs. So we'll probably back it down, it'll be a little more yellowish lighting. a
Yeah,
little
so that would be
brighter.
the color, but I'm talking about the intensity, the lumens.
They're all colored, it's all selectable, so we can pick
Yeah.
what wattage we're gonna do, and color temp as well.
Okay, so there's 2,300, 5,300, and 8,500 lumens, so, there's different levels of intensity.
I believe on the cut sheets, we picked the middle, I forget what we picked, but it's all on the cut sheets.
Okay, so you've already had that discussion?
Yeah, we've already gone over, and this is what the electrician suggested.
Yeah,
that
what
we
they
do.
suggest.
So it's not overwhelming.
What I was getting at, so this way they don't have to come back and make an adjustment.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
all, yeah, color select, yeah, everything's selectable.
Any other questions? Steve?
Is it being done to do a lighting layout for you?
The lighting layout,
Yeah, they'll do what they'll do is they'll take, I used to sell LED lighting, most of the time, you would get asked to do a layout, because what you do is specify how many foot
the
candles,
coverage.
coverage you want, where you want it, and then they will select the right fixtures for you based on what your specification is. And if there was a problem with darkness or shadows, this is a time to.
Yeah, hopefully everything will catch up. We've had some trees that were obviously smaller a couple years ago, now they've grown into the site lighting poles.
But I'd like to do a lighting layout for you, so you can see where your shadows are going to be.
Good idea, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, so at this point, is the board in a position to make a motion to approve the upgrade to the lighting at West Goshen Community Park in the amount of $5,538?
So I guess the additional lighting will be a separate request
This is
cost?
just,
This is
yes,
just to
this is just
upgrade
for
the
the amphitheater,
existing?
correct, and plus
Okay.
the 2 wall packs that are on the amphitheater itself.
Right,
So we'll have a little more coverage on the stage area where the steps are.
okay, and then come back to us with another proposal for the additional lighting.
If we, yeah, yep.
I
Okay.
mean, since we're in the budget season, if it's determined that more lighting is needed, we can allocate it in the 2026 budget, and then based on the analysis, Mike can then go out and
Okay.
just do the adjustment.
Is that something where we need a lighting engineer study on? Is it, No, it's just-
Study.
okay. Because that would be additional cost, obviously, if we think we need to have an engineering lighting of the
I think
whole
it's just a matter of
area.
just upgrading the old light, the existing lights. as well.
I'm hearing you're confident that's going to probably solve the problem, but if not, you can always work with a lighting remedy. Like to Steve's point, look at it quick, what else can we put in
Kind of
there?
deal with the vendor name now. They're out in Phoenixville, but they usually do a really good job. I forget their name now. I think it's usually, forget, contractor.
Donations, like that.
I forget their name, but like I said, they're very good at selection. They did our parking lot lights for us as well here, so when we upgraded.
Okay, so you're happy with what they've done for you? Okay. So I asked the question of the board, is there somebody willing to make the motion to upgrade the lighting as in the
I'll make
amount?
that motion.
No, sir.
Thank you. Is there any comments or questions from the board or anyone in attendance? Very good, then we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Agenda item number 6, discussion and possible approval of resolution number 28, 2025, granting preliminary final land development approval for the plan of BT Carter Drive LLC West Goshen Hotel, proposing the construction of a 3-story 200-room hotel at 205 Carter Drive. And Brian, I'm going to let you introduce this, if you don't mind, the whole background and what's before the board.
And Sean, the applicant and their counsel are here if you have specific
I
questions.
saw that, yeah.
Make her earn
Welcome.
her pay, right?
Thank you. I'll just introduce our group. Everybody's getting organized. Good evening, Allison Zarl. On behalf of BT Carter Drive LLC, with me this evening are Peter Cleland from BET. It's a BET entity that owns the property, which I believe the board is aware. And then we have David Stewart from T&M Associates. T&M is the civil engineering firm for the project. We were were here back in, probably about 18 months ago. If you recall, we needed zoning hearing board relief, both variance and special exception relief, and we went through details related to that at that time. Since that time, we've now been through the full land development process. We have our sewer planning module exemption, we have our NPDS permit, so essentially we have our permits for the project, and we appeared before the planning commission in August where they made their recommendation. But I'm happy to have Brian sort of give you an overview, and then we can walk through and answer any questions that you have.
Yeah, that'd be good.
The project needed some relief for zoning with floodplain. They also were delayed approximately 2 years going through their process with the Army Corps for the FEMA for their floodplain and their floodway map. They have a letter of map, a C1 conditional letter, so that has to be closed out as part of the project, just like Greystone has one. Once that was done, then they did submit, went through the review process. Carolyn Jane did review it. Fire Marshal Andrew did review it. They addressed all of her comments. HRG reviewed it. There's a few outstanding minor comments on the project for both the township and for HRG that are minor in nature. There's nothing that would change the layout. There's just some cleanup items in the plans. So other than that, the plan is ready for your conditional approval tonight.
Okay, thank you, Brian. So maybe we could hear a little bit about the project, a couple of general questions. So if you don't mind describing what the overall concept is, particularly since we've got quite a few people in attendance.
I think they actually have a whole presentation.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, we don't have to go through every detail,
we have these 40 slides, but if you've got some headlines, we'd love to hear it.
Yes, but we do, I mean, this is the existing conditions. I'll just briefly touch on it, and then I'll have David walk you through the overall plan, but just to refresh everyone's memory, this property is a little over 5 acres. It's currently improved with a 43,800 square foot building. That building would be demolished, so what you're seeing on the screen up there right now are the existing conditions in that building, sort of in the center of the site. There is one access point to the property. It's on to the left of the building on the plan as you're looking at it, or the west. That access point will remain to Carter Drive, which is kind of down there in the left-hand corner of the plan. And then you'll see as we go through this, there is a secondary access point proposed to connect to the edge, just so that there is a secondary access to this property, which we thought was important. We know that your saldo, when you're doing certain types of developments, wants a secondary access point, and we thought since we had the opportunity to do that, since BBT also owns that property, that we should include that access point, primarily in case of emergency. We don't think it would be the main access point to the site that's intended to be Carter Drive. But I'll have David walk you through, what you're looking at on the screen and what the project is.
Good evening, everyone. Essentially, we are proposing a 3-story, 200-suite hotel that's shown in the center of the property. The 3 stories would be atop covered garage parking. So Brian Kitchen was in this slide to show that. We'll come back to this one. So that just shows you're able to, as was noted, enter the site via Carter Drive and then enter into the garage where we have parking proposed. A total of 260 spaces are proposed. And Brian can go back for a second. Thank you. So essentially, we have approximately 34 spaces outside of the garage. Inside. As noted, we do have maintaining the Carter Drive access, and we have stated this is the connection to the student housing to the north. We did, as Brian noted, we went through approvals with the fire marshal. You are seeing grass pavers to the right and to the bottom of the building. That allows for access to 4 sides of the building in emergencies. On top of that, in addition to that, apologies. In addition to that, you can see here that there is an existing storage and management basin that's located on the north side of the property. We're maintaining that, page north. We're maintaining that basin, bringing it up to current DEP standards, and we're also proposing an underground basin to the right of the building. As far as utilities, the site is currently served by Aqua PA. We will be doing domestic and fire type for the building. We will have one sanitary connection coming out of the building, and there will be telecommunications as well. Landscaping, lighting, in accordance with township regulations. I can answer any questions.
Okay, I'll pick it up with my one question. So the access up to the property at the top there, that is not expected to be any routine access. You're saying it's going to be open, but it's expected to be only used for potentially emergency vehicles. Is that true, or is there?
That is correct. Township code does require that a secondary access be given, so that's why we made that connection. During a previous attendance here, it was noted to provide turning movements for a fire truck. So we did have to show turning movements for fire trucks to be able to enter through the edge and get into the property in case of emergencies. So we do have that in our packet, possibly sheet 34, the plans.
And Sean, one of the conditions, and this came from Andrea had an email that she wanted there to be a chain installed across the emergency access in lieu of a gate. So
Correct.
is that shown on the plan?
It would be essentially here and here, so that a regular.
Yeah, it's not a chain on the access into the property.
The chain would be
the chain is at the back.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
I thought she wanted it across the emergency.
It would be just where the emergency fire lanes are essentially.
And specific to the easement to the property to the north, is that documented in any separate recorded document, or is it just going to be noted on the plans? Because I would prefer there to be a separate agreement that's in the chain of title, because oftentimes if it's just on a plan, it gets lost.
That could be a separate agreement.
Yeah, we had discussed that with the planning commission.
Okay.
Separate
So
agreement.
I would suggest we add that as a condition, because that's not called out anywhere. The Carroll review letter does reference a temporary construction easement, but I'm not sure which property that is. That's the condition E3, so is that?
That would be for the edge part.
Okay, so I don't know, Allison, if that can all be in one document, but normally you don't require a temporary construction easement to be recorded because it's limited in duration and goes away. You don't want it to, be in their chain of title for forever. But if it's a permanent easement that's required by this plan to always be in place for so long as this property has this hotel, then I would like it to be a separate document that's recorded. It's just much easier for people to find it.
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you. Other questions from the board?
Yeah, given this driveway that you're connecting to the Edge complex, the Edge is dedicated for student housing for Westchester University. For the record, is there any plans in the future for this hotel to become a student housing complex?
You define student housing separately. This hotel is a permitted use in our district, so this will be a hotel. The board would have to amend its zoning ordinance in order to allow student housing on this site.
So there's no plans in your mind?
No, yes,
You're
no
that
plans in
direction.
our mind, that's correct.
So we don't even allow it in this district.
Yeah, it's not even allowed. So.
I remember having a conversation with, I believe it might have been yourself, sir, related to potentially an Edge 2 on this particular location, and it got lost with all the back and forth with the borough and their reluctance to consider that, and we just moved on from it. So this is where we are today. Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay,
exactly
thank you.
Right.
I have a question related to the timing of construction. So the zoning hearing board back in April granted you an additional period through April 11th, 2027 to get to the point of obtaining the UNO permit. Is your construction schedule going to be complete by April 2027?
I think it was to get a building. Yeah, that was to get a building.
A permit, a building permit or a UNO permit?
Yeah, or a UNO.
Okay, so
Where we envision things right now is we're heading into the fall. We have gotten our permits by the time we do our paperwork with the township, assuming you go ahead and you approve this plan. We have to do all our development agreements. We'll do this access easement. I think we're contemplating construction in the spring. This also is a specific hotel building that's designed for the site, so those construction plans will take a little while. But I think we're confident we'll get the building permit within that time frame. At the time we went to request that additional extension, we just wanted to make sure that we did have enough time so we wouldn't have to come back again. So that was factored into our initial projection when we went to them.
okay. With respect to stormwater, the managed release concept that's shown, that's being proposed, my understanding of that is based, because the land itself is not able to infiltrate, have an infiltration basin to the degree that is necessary to manage the stormwater requirements.
That is correct.
So with these managed release concept, the basic premise is you'll collect the water, it will basically hydraulically flow from the basin to the creek. But doesn't that mean there's going to be standing water there for certain periods of time? And is that a potential problem with respect to mosquitoes or some other problem like that? And is that addressed within a stormwater management agreement with the township?
So you're correct, as far as we did do filtration testing on site and we did not get filtration results, which is why we had to go to MRC. The basis of the MRC for the above ground basin, which is constructed wetland, and for the underground basin is essentially that we're releasing the stormwater at a very slow rate. So for the above ground basin, 7 days would allow that water to be released in low flow storms into the waters of the U.S. that are to the north, page north of the site. And then for higher storms, those will go to Goose Creek.
Okay, so 7 days, is that considered not a problem with respect to mosquitoes or something else with standing water?
I thought it was no more than 3 days that
Just
the
to know,
water
for,
should be.
yeah, for MRC,
Right.
you're releasing slower just to the fact of that you can infiltrate, that allows that time frame.
The additional 4 days it allows for is what you're saying, because of the flow.
Tina, our ordinance requires 4 days,
Okay.
but because the MRC is a DEP approved, and they have their NPDES permit, the DEP approved it with the release rate, because the DEP has to approve that MRC.
Right,
The full design and the release rates are governed by the DEP.
right.
It's not, it's
So
beyond,
they
it's
approved,
beyond, the
okay.
DEP has issued the permit for this, yes.
So they made an exception for
Yes.
this based on that, okay.
Yes.
So, to my point then, so if there is a problem with mosquitoes or whatever else, that's theoretically possible, correct?
Yes,
Or
if
you believe it
if there is problems with mosquitoes and complaints, we'll be putting it to the attention of the operator,
Mhm.
and they'll have to address it.
But Brian, is that something that can be a specific note for maintenance on their post-construction stormwater management plan? That if the depth of the water is a certain thing, to do some sort of inspection of whether that's a problem, and maybe it depends on the time of year, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Their MRC is already a wetland currently, it's already
Right.
there, and
Right.
they're proposing to maintain the wetland and enhance it to current standards. So the wetland is already there, they're not changing the fact that there is currently a wet. This area on the property is currently a regulated wetland, and they had to go through the process with DEP in order to modify the wetland and bring it up to current MRC standards.
But my concern is there will be mosquitoes for sure, because it's a 7-day period that it's going to be in there. So how do we adjust that from a maintenance
It's
standpoint?
more than 7 days, it's a wetland, it's currently a wetland, it's going to stay a wetland, there's always going to be water there.
Different standing water. One's a wetland, the other one is more basin.
The basin will water down to the elevation of the wetland.
That's the
Fills on top of the
purpose,
wetland,
right.
yes, the wetland's always going to be there, it's always going to be wet, there's always going to be standing water there. When it rains, it fills up above the wetland, and then it drains down to the wetland elevation again. There's never not going to be, it's never going to be dry.
Right.
We're
It could be a
we're fine with the whole concept, we get it, we understand
Yes.
it. The problem is, if there should be
Right.
theoretically a mosquito problem, is it worth, to Chris's point, having
Yes.
it addressed in the
Yes.
stormwater management agreement that
It
the
will be
property owner
addressed
needs
in their
to?
operation and maintenance plan.
Okay.
That
That was
either-
what I was asking, is there
Yes,
something
it
on
could
it
be,
that speaks to
I
that?
will check the plan, that can be something that, if it's not on the plan, can be added before recorded.
And more importantly, that it be mitigated within a certain time period within the maintenance and operation plan. Not only,
They're going to have to provide, if it's not there, they're going to have to provide what they're going to do, and then we can do it.
right, just as long as it's in there.
Yes.
Other questions from the board?
Yeah, I have a question. Ryan, could you bring up sheet 6 of the plans? That's the site plan of the,
Is that here?
You can go to the next, go to down, that should be there. Next one.
okay. Yeah, that's it. Your parking spaces all around, you meet the ordinances that we have in place now to have a sufficient number of parking spaces given the size of the hotel that's proposing. We had some discussion at the planning commission meeting in August, how many of those parking spaces they're looking for EV charging stations. And we did pass an ordinance, since you haven't made this application, after we did, so we can't make you comply with it. But I'm asking you, and I asked you then at the planning commission meeting, how many of these parking spaces will you be making into EV charging stations?
So you're correct, it did come up during the planning commission discussion, and in speaking with the client, we would be able to do up to 6 spaces on the site. How many? 6, up to 6.
You have any idea where they'd be located?
They would be located on the north side of the building, on this side, outside of the building on the north side.
Thank you.
So there'll actually be chargers there, there'll be actual chargers.
Yes.
Level 2
And we're
charges.
agreeable to you adding that as a condition.
You're okay with that, Matt?
Yep.
Level 2.
Yes. I have one other question related to the stormwater. The infiltration basin that you do have on
The underground basin?
yes.
Yes.
What feeds into that? What
The
parts
buil-
of the site feed into that particular basin?
That serves the building.
The building roof?
Yes.
Okay. And the building seems to occupy a pretty big footprint relative to the whole site. So I was, in my mind, I thought the managed release was going to take most of the stormwater from the site, and the infiltration basin was taking some small one as part of the parking lot or something. But you're saying that the infiltration is good enough to take the whole of the roof?
So the site doesn't infiltrate in general, so the underground basin is also an MRC or slope release basin.
Yeah.
But the existing basin on the north side of the site serves our site and also the park. So it serves stormwater that comes across from the basin that exists here, and then goes through a 24-inch pipe, 36-inch pipe, and then a 42-inch pipe into that basin.
That explains it, thank you.
And that's, bring it up to standards, that could add an extra basin.
Thank you for the explanation. Any other questions from the board?
I had 2 questions. Were you considering putting a bicycle rack based on the recommendations?
From the county?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, I'm just curious if that was one.
What else do you want here?
That was their recommendation. I didn't know. I mean, a lot of people do bicycle there. I forget my second question now.
Not like chargers.
Judge, are you big electric?
Yeah, okay, that's good.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, so I will make a motion to approve resolution number 28, 2025, granting preliminary final land development approval for the plan of BT Carter Drive LLC for the West Goshen Hotel, proposing the construction of a 3-story, 200-room hotel at 205 Carter Drive, with the condition of recording a separate easement agreement for the permanent access for the property known as The Edge. Second condition, adding to the operations and maintenance plan for stormwater to include mitigation of any mosquito infestation, and a condition 3, documenting that 6 spaces will, with level 2 chargers will be provided for electric vehicles and a bicycle rack.
I just had one other question relative to the sanitary sewer, to the sewer. I noticed it's being replaced. Is that because of the size of the pipes, or why can't they tie into the existing right now?
So we're only replacing, there's an existing lateral that comes out of the building.
Okay.
A manhole ran outside of that.
I saw that.
So we're only replacing that stuff.
Okay, so the lateral and the manhole itself.
The manhole goes into that.
Yeah.
Manhole, we're not replacing the manhole, we're replacing the lateral.
The lateral, okay.
But it's most likely to be larger.
That's what I thought, but I'm just curious.
So that-
Okay. Thank you.
So I believe I made the motion. John, you still go with the second with those conditions? All right. Is there any other comment or questions from the board or from anyone in attendance on the motion? Doug?
Well, on the planning commission, we did vote for this, but the outdoor parking at the top of the diagram there, that's outdoor parking, the lower level that's nose in. I apologize if I asked this before, but is there going to be a sidewalk there or curbing to protect that building?
There is curbing on the north side, there is no sidewalk on the north side. Along the road.
Okay, there's no sidewalk.
There is no sidewalk.
So it would be a curb and then the building wall,
There'll be a curb, grass strip.
grass strip. And how tall is that curb?
6 inches.
So just to be clear, so you park your vehicle on that north side, you get out of the vehicle, you walk through that piece of the parking lot, and then there's a sidewalk along the front of the building?
There's a sidewalk.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Who had a second? John second.
But he seconded before he
I
mentioned.
just asked him.
Oh, okay.
He was given 3 conditions.
You're very quick.
Yeah. It's a big agenda tonight, I'm trying to move us along, so. Steve?
Yeah, we have had discussions with planning, I just make sure we're still having a sidewalk from the edge all the way down.
Yes.
That's still part of it.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, then we're ready to take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Good luck with your project.
Thank you very much.
Actually, I have one last question. How many people do you expect this project to employ when it's fully finished? Do you have any idea?
Probably 6 to 8 full-time. I would imagine that if you're part-time.
Okay, so less than 20 overall.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 7. Continued discussion regarding a proposed amendment to the West Goshen Township zoning ordinance pertaining to historic resource protection. So before the board this evening is continued discussion regarding a proposed amendment to the township zoning ordinance related to historic resource protection standards. This was previously discussed at our September 2nd meeting. As a follow-up to that discussion, the township solicitor, Kristen, has reviewed the proposed ordinance and provided changes. And additionally, one member of the township staff has reviewed the proposed list of historic resources for ownership information, and we have an updated list that shows some properties that were on the list that we could not locate any ownership or property information for. We also noted that some properties on the list have also been demolished. So therefore, the recommendation from Township Manager is that anything that has been highlighted should be removed from the final list. And we previously discussed at the September meeting, if we're satisfied with the proposed ordinance and the revisions to the list, then the next course of action would be to send a letter to invite the property owners to a special meeting to understand the contents of this ordinance and have a public discussion about it. So that's where we are with this process. What questions do the board have?
I just wanted to also mention that Shelby had read it yesterday and provided some comments to me, which led me to make a couple additional changes, which are shown in blue on what was passed out. So her point was that to get a demolition permit, you have to file a building permit. There's building code requirements and UCC requirements that you have to issue that permit within 30 days if it meets all other requirements. Your zoning ordinance has a section on zoning permits that basically says you have to get a zoning permit and that will be issued within 30 days. This process, so if you file an application to demolish a historic resource, that process is not going, it's going to take longer than 30 days. So I put in a provision to accept out, zoning demolition permits for historic resources are not going to follow that same 30-day rule. So that's a new section 4 that's at the bottom of page 2, top of page 3. And then she also wanted me to add, and I think it's a good suggestion on page 5, just a time frame for when the Historical Commission has to communicate their decision or their recommendation with respect to adding resources to the list. So that changes on page 5, and I just modeled that after the language that's already in there for the HC's report to the board on demolition. So those were changes that she had requested. And then also on page 8, wanted to make sure that there are really sort of 2 permits that you need to get if you're proposing to demolish a historic resource. You have the zoning permit, which is governed by this process, and then you have the demo permit, which is the building demo permit, which is governed by the building code. So page 8 just makes it clear that getting the zoning permit is not all that you need. You need to satisfy all the requirements. So those were, and Shelby, thank you for looking at that and being so aware of just the requirements that happen across the board. I think that's important to make sure we're not creating inconsistency. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Shelby. Well done. This is what we're going to be sending to the property owners, so we want it to be in as good a shape as possible. Of course, if we have a public meeting with them and get input, there may be further changes. So we're not really at the point of moving this forward through the actual planning process or anything at this point. We just want to get it in as good a shape as we can. So it's good that everybody's had a chance to provide their comments and inputs. Thanks again, Shelby. Any other questions from the board on this?
One other comment on page 5 in the original packet here. In section 134E3, there's a reference to if the historic resource no longer meets the definition and criteria of any class, I'm saying remove of any class because we're not separating the resources by class anymore.
Or see that additional change, yeah.
Yeah. Delete that, strike that.
Yeah, strike that.
So just want to bring Chris in now on the conversation. So in terms of preparing a letter to send out and getting it to the property owners, giving them plenty of notice about this so that they're able to attend the public meeting, and given the board's schedule through the remainder of this year with at least 2, if not 3 conditional uses, meetings that we need to schedule separate from the regular board meetings, my personal opinion, sharing this with the rest of the board, is that we should take our time and get the letter right, send this out closer to the end of the year, and schedule a specific meeting early in 2026, so the January timeframe, because I think we'll have more than enough on our plate with our obligations to these other conditional use requirements that are being brought forward. What do you think? Yeah. Okay. So we've got a couple of updates to the ordinance. Chris, you've got a list that we're going to prepare for. You have a list in terms of what we need to contact the property owners. What we don't have is a draft and a letter that you can work up, hopefully with help from the Historic Commission members, related to what to send to the property owners.
I've spoken with the chair, Michael Pilligali, and we talked about working together on crafting the letter and making sure everything is very clear. What's not in the packet is, in addition to kind of looking up the information, Jennifer also put together the property owner information, so all the contact information for all the property owners that are listed here. I don't have this, the list of historic resources in like an Excel or like Word document. I was working off of this PDF, so I would just want to get that and make sure it's fully up to date, removing anything that we can find any data on.
Okay. Any other issues that we need to be considering tonight?
Just curiosity here, how would this ordinance apply to a property that has been put into conservatorship? Would this ordinance apply to the conservatory? Would they have to comply with the provisions of our ordinance when we pass it?
Probably, let's see why not.
But the ordinance doesn't prohibit demolition in any way.
No.
It just requires documentation.
So there would be no conflict with conservatorship with our ordinance as a president stated.
Well, if the conservatorship reached a point of moving forward with the demolition, they would have to comply with the requirements of demolition of the historic resource that outlined in here, right?
I would say unless the court in approving a restoration plan exempted it in some manner. You know, maybe the conservator would ask that not, given the cost or given the delay or given, in one hand, part of why you're filing a petition is because you're concerned about, structural stability of properties. To make them then have could be a long process, may go counter to that. So that may be something that the court, in granting the petition of the conservator, would address.
Would the court be aware that this is moving along in parallel with the court decisions though?
The township can let the court know, yeah.
Okay. Just a petition, we should. All right, any other questions or concerns? Chris, what do you need from the board tonight in terms of any specific direction for this? Do you need it to come back here with a draft letter for review, or you just want to work with the Historic Commission? What does the board want?
I'm comfortable working with the chair of the Historic Commission, members of the Historic Commission. Mr. Woolman is the liaison to the Historic Commission. I'm happy to keep him abreast of the communication that's going out there. I don't believe there's any action that would be required on the part of the board if they're comfortable with that process and scheduling something for the first quarter of 2026.
Okay. So our goal should be to get this letter out, sometime this fall, hopefully late November, early December, give people 8 weeks notice about the meeting, which would put it in early February kind of time frame.
And having been through this process before, I would recommend scheduling this as like a separate meeting and not part of a regularly scheduled board meeting.
Absolutely.
Because you could potentially have, I think there were 19 92 minus about 9 properties. So you could potentially have about 80 property owners showing up here, actually.
Yep. Okay, questions or comments from anyone in attendance? Very good. That was it. No other actions required on that agenda item then. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 8, which is a public hearing and possible adoption of ordinance number 8, 2025, amending West Goshen Township zoning ordinance to define limited distilleries, permit them as use by right in certain zoning districts, and establish criteria for their use. Kristen, would you mind walking
Sure.
through the public hearing?
So this came as a request from an applicant whose name is Cutter and Cannon Spirits LLC. Matthew Mowat is the principal of that entity. They're interested in having a limited distillery use in, what is the property that they want to do it at? 210 Carter Drive, which is in the I-2 district, or I-1 district. So they had petitioned the board. They went to the land planning committee and then came to you, and you agreed that this was an appropriate amendment that could be made. Because it is an amendment to your zoning ordinance, there are certain procedural requirements that we have to follow. And I always like the minutes to reflect that we did follow those requirements. The first is that we advertised tonight as a hearing, public hearing, and we did that in the Daily Local News on August 29th and September 5th. We have the proofs of publication for those advertisements. We also sent a copy of the full ordinance to the Daily Local and to the Law Library, as the second-class township and MPC require. And because we only do a summary ad, we want to make sure there's a full version for public inspection. So we did that in an email on August 26th. We also had your planning commission review this, and they did that at their meeting on August 12th, and they recommended that this be approved. And then finally, we had to send it to the Chester County Planning Commission. Any zoning amendment must be reviewed by that agency, and they reviewed it and issued a letter on August 26, 2025. So the title really explains what we're doing. We're adding a definition. We're allowing it as a use by right in the C2, the C4, the I1, and the I2 district, and also the I3. And we had to amend the language relating to outdoor dining because that referenced the types of uses where you could have outdoor dining. So we added a limited distillery use to that. And then we have a specific new section, 845726B, which regulates specifically the regulations for this particular use. So those are the changes.
Thank you, Kristen. I have one question. I couldn't quite decipher the comment from the Chester County Planning Commission, so it's comment 3 on their letter of August the 26th.
I also couldn't understand it. I mean, I think what they were worrying about is they were thinking that was a new requirement. It's not a new requirement for outdoor dining. That's already in there. Okay. We already have a requirement that your outdoor dining area is limited to that amount. I think they were thinking we were adding that as a new restriction and therefore creating non-conformities with existing outdoor dining, and that's not the case.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions from the board? Obviously, we've seen this a couple of times lately, so any public questions on it? Okay, well, is a board member willing to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 8, 2025?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Nate. Is there a second? Thank you, Tina. Last chance for any board comments, questions, or anyone in attendance with a comment or question. Doug?
The planning commission was not unanimous.
Okay, we saw the vote was 7-2. I believe you were opposed, Doug. Do you want to explain why you were opposed?
Public safety, mainly.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Agenda item number 9 is discussion and possible approval of resolution number 29, 2025, approving the intergovernmental agreement for the Westchester Area Emergency Response Team. And Chief Carroll is here to help us understand what this is about. So I'll just give it a quick intro and then we'll hand it over to Chief Carroll. So before the board is the proposed resolution number 29, 2025. The resolution would authorize West Goshen Township to enter into an intergovernmental agreement in regards to the Westchester Area Regional Emergency Response Team. The parties to the agreement are the following: East Bradford Township, East Goshen, Euclid Township, Westchester Borough, West Goshen, West Whiteland Township, Westtown Township, Westtown, East Goshen Regional Police, and Willistown Township. So while the Westchester Area Regional Emergency Response Team has operated for a significant number of years, this agreement is intended to formalize the relationship among the municipal entities involved. Chief, could you start off by just explaining why this is being proposed to formalize this now?
Yes, this is strictly to control the monies for the team. So the team is made up of 7 different police departments, multiple municipalities because of the way where those police departments cover. But each team contributes to the pot equally each year, and that money has been kept at different members. For instance, right now the money is at West Whiteland Township. We're proposing to move the money to Euclid Township to have them be our agent controlling the finances, and this intergovernmental agreement that's what the purpose of it is, to get that done.
Chief, this organization already exists. This is really more formality to make sure that it's properly authorized through all the municipalities and has some more details about how, like you just said, the money would be handled, et cetera. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Is this can you describe a little bit of the duties of this team? Is it essentially a SWAT organization?
Yes.
Okay. So when exactly would they be called into action?
Any situation that requires special handling that the normal officers don't have the ability to handle. So we do a lot of search warrants, barricaded subjects, are probably the 2 highest calls we get, but it could be anything down to a hostage, up to a hostage situation.
Mm-hmm. And who makes that decision?
Which decision?
To activate the team?
So any chief of an agency involved in the team can call the team out, or any 2 lieutenants can call the team out.
Can I ask a question too? Does this particular organization ever get called to assist other municipalities that aren't members to this agreement?
Yes.
Okay. And that's just handled through mutual aid agreements, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a situation, I mean, obviously it's great that Euclid is stepping up and taking ownership of managing the money and the audit process that goes with that. Is there a situation where we could end up with no one wanting to act as an agent to manage the funds and the operation of the ERT?
It's certainly possible, and when we began, that's how it was. So we would get a bill for munitions for, $3,000. We would divide 3,000 by 7 and mail bills out to all the agencies, and someone would agree, and they would each pay that munitions company 1/7 of the bill. So we did operate like that for a while, but it's much easier.
Yeah, this is a better way to operate than that, for sure. Okay, do you have any concerns, Chief, about this agreement being formalized, or does it put an additional burden on your staff to manage this? Is there any additional reporting, et cetera, that you want to let the board know about?
No, not at all.
Okay. Any other questions from the
Yeah,
board?
there's some mention in the agreement about purchase of facilities and equipment. Who will actually own this, and where would that equipment or facility be located?
So we will not be purchasing a facility, but we do purchase a lot of equipment, some of which is held here, some of which is held at other departments. It depends on what the equipment is and who has space for it.
Have you ever run into a situation where, with the dispersed equipment, that you're not as efficiently able to respond to a situation because of the fact that you don't have everything in one place?
No, because the officers are coming from the different locations also.
Okay.
So you mentioned before about how you handled expenses dividing by 7, sending out invoices. With this new agreement, would there be a difference or a change in that funding arrangement? Will there be, there's a mention of an annual membership fee. Is that going to be the case? And if so, what are we talking about?
There has been for the last, I don't know how many years, it's $5,000 per agent.
So it's $5,000 per municipality?
Yes.
So there's that historic situation where you get a bill and divide it by 7, that was years ago, really.
So the $5,000 before we had someone handle it was an expectation on each agency to set aside the $5,000 and we would spend it in 7s.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Okay, I will make a motion to approve resolution number 29, 2025, which approves the intergovernmental agreement for the Westchester Area Emergency Response Team. Is there a second?
Second.
I think Ashley was there, so we have a motion. Is there any comments or questions from the board or anyone in attendance on the motion?
Well, let me just ask this, how many officers from the West Goshen Police Department are assigned to this team at this time?
We have 7 operators and 2 negotiators.
And is that pretty much typical across the board for all the other municipalities as well?
No, we're a little on the higher end, some of the departments are a little smaller, but everyone has people.
So just to follow up on that, so in the event of the worst situation, a hostage situation or something, how many people can you actually get to respond from the ERT overall to such a situation?
So it depends on what time of year, who's available, who isn't. Our primary coverage is here at West Goshen, so if 2 of those officers are working the street, they can't just leave and leave West Goshen unprotected. They would have to get somebody to cover it before they can go. If you're off duty, you get called, you can respond, assuming you're available and not away in Jamaica.
Okay.
And given the increased hazardous risk, being assigned to a team like this and going out in detail like that, does our insurance coverage currently now for our police officers cover them also in that kind of situation?
It does.
Any other questions or comments?
Are they compensated for being on that team? Do they get additional pay or anything?
So they get 12 hours of additional training, minimum of 12 hours of additional training each month, so they're compensated for that training, but there's no extra pay for being on.
Any other questions? Okay, then we're ready to take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Thanks, Chief. Next is agenda item number 10, which is continued discussion and possible approval of a professional services proposal from Urban Engineers to review the Westchester University Master Plan. And that is with, I believe, Chris, or was it the board? Chris.
Mr. Chairman, before the board this evening is continued discussion regarding the professional services proposal from Urban Engineers to review the Westchester University Master Plan. As the board's aware, Westchester University submitted their conditional use application for their master plan to both West Goshen Township and Westchester Borough. This is pursuant to the requirements of the plan, University Main Campus Overlay District, requirements outlined in the Township Zoning District, zoning ordinance. The applicant has granted the Township and the Borough an extension through November 30th to commence the hearings. At the August 5th meeting, the board reviewed the proposal that was received from Urban Engineers, and the Township solicitor provided comments on the proposal document. Those comments were provided to Urban Engineers, and all the comments have been addressed to the satisfaction of the Township solicitor. Additionally, it's my understanding that Westchester Borough Council approved the proposal on August 28, 2025, with a cap of $20,000 in borough expenses. It's also my understanding that Westchester University has agreed to reimburse the professional costs to the borough up to that amount, and this will also be extended to West Goshen Township. I do have verbal confirmation of that, but I'm awaiting written confirmation of that. As previously outlined, the review costs will be split evenly between the municipalities to ensure that all are receiving the same information, and any costs associated with attendance at hearings will be billed to the individual municipality. So I believe that the proposal, if the board wishes to consider action, I believe it's in a position to be approved. And I would recommend a similar condition to that Westchester Borough did.
Thank you, Chris. Questions from the board? Kristen, you obviously had a chance to review the conditions of the contract and got the changes that you required.
Yes, they did, they made changes.
Okay. And
Excuse me, I provided the final version to Westchester Borough, noting that Kristen has signed off on everything.
I presume in terms of a timeline, we're looking to hold the first hearing sometime mid to late November.
I think that's going to get extended.
It'll be extended.
I just think the way they're operating, they were sending out letters to do the neighbor meetings, so my guess would be it'll be extended, and then you're going to get into the holidays, so.
But the neighbor meetings are September or October time? Both late this month, then, okay.
They're doing one group for the borough and one group for West Goshen Township. And I provided a sample notification list to their council.
Do you have a date for when these meetings will be occurring?
One is, as the solicitor said, one's in September and one's in October.
We can get you those dates, John. I'll pull up the letter.
I don't remember what they are off the top of my
You want
head.
to go on, I'll tell you.
Okay. So my concern would have been if it was going to be, you know, trying to schedule something early, mid-November, is there enough time for urban engineers to review the amount of information that's included? But it sounds like we think it is.
And as Brian mentioned at the August 5th meeting, our plan would be to have a joint project kickoff meeting.
Okay.
He hasn't provided them with any of the documents, so we probably have a better understanding once we have a kickoff meeting.
Once the proposal's approved, then I will be sending them the electronic documents to coordinate the meeting so they have a chance to start looking at it prior to kickoff meeting. So they're not walking in the kickoff meeting cold. I did not share the documents with them until we decided to go forward.
Sounds good. Thank you, Brian.
So the meetings are September 29th from 8 to 9:30 at the Swope Music Building, and Monday, October 6th from 6 to 7:30 at the Aspen Concert Hall.
Those are they specific to the borough, one of them, and the West Goshen, the other?
Yeah, I was trying to see that the letter looks like it's the same letter for both.
I thought I thought Brian.
That was the one letter. Let me real quick look at the other one. Same dates. Yeah.
Okay, I thought Brian said he was doing 2 separate meetings. Okay.
That's it. 2 separate meetings, but either borough or West Goshen could attend.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think he's trying to differentiate. I pulled up both letters and with the same dates.
Okay, I thought he was doing one for notifying borough residents and one for the township. Okay.
Yeah.
So September 29th?
September 29th from 8 to 9:30 p.m.
Yeah.
At the Madeline Wing Adler Theater, Swope Music Building Performing Arts Center. It's at 817 South High. And then Monday, October 6th from 6 to 7:30 at the Aspen Concert Hall, which is 700 South High Street.
Thank you, Chris. Sorry.
And you said you gave them a list of those residents from West Goshen? That should be
I did.
submitted.
So what I did was, on Kristen's advice, I took the plan and I followed our ordinance for notification and looked for areas where there was construction proposed on the plan and did a radius from those areas. So there were about 3 or 4 separate groups, and then I gave all of that to Brian.
What was the radius, 500 feet?
500 feet.
And what time are those meetings?
One
8 to 9:30, and the other one's 6 to 7:30.
But who from the township is signing up for this?
See,
They're not really township meetings.
Yeah.
They're meetings for the residents. So, and he specifically writes that at the bottom of the letter. This is not a township meeting. This is not a borough meeting. This is a meeting from the university inviting residents to come participate. Okay, let's
Okay,
go.
how many representatives there from the township? Should we have a presence there just to answer questions, or?
I wouldn't.
See,
I don't want it to be then thought that it is a township meeting or a borough meeting. I want it to be the university making the presentation. And I also, because it's a hearing, your conditional use hearing, I would worry that they're, you know, if you hear something at these,
No,
these meetings aren't. These are neighbor meetings. But your ultimate, what you're going to be having is a conditional use hearing, and so your decision has to be based on what testimony is provided at those hearings. There's nothing wrong with you sitting in the audience and being quiet and not presenting something on behalf of a township, but I think I'd rather not let that happen.
Is the university's intention here that utilize these hearings or these meetings, and if that may change some of the conditions?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think it's just to let their residents know. I think they've gotten a lot of pushback on the past of residents who live in and around the university that they don't keep them informed of what they're trying to do. I think, as you saw with the pump house, you know, they have impacts and they just want to get ahead of it. I think this is really Brian encouraging them to be better neighbors, to be honest. We've had a couple conversations with him about that. So I think he's trying to do that and be proactive about it.
When Brian first proposed this idea to me a couple months ago, I told him I thought it was a really good idea to get out in front and sort of prepare the community so that they're not getting a notice from us about a hearing and then coming into it blind. So now they have 3 hours of opportunities to go and hear about what the university is planning for the future. And all the documents are available on our website, and I provided him with that link if Casey wants to distribute it to anybody.
It's also just a very different application that none of us are used to because it crosses municipal boundaries, it's a master plan process, it puts zoning in place, but there's still land development. So there's a lot procedurally to explain and to let the public know what it is and what it isn't. So I think that's the other thing he's trying to get ahead of.
How many residents for West Goshen did you have on that list? Do you recall?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I'll check with you later.
Quite a few.
It was a
Yeah,
decent.
quite a few.
Because it was in several different locations.
Yeah. Other questions from the board? Is there anyone in attendance with questions about this? We haven't made a motion yet, but I was curious as to what issues or concerns you might have. Steve?
Can we put those meeting dates on our website so we're looking for?
I can include it with the information that we have for the master plan.
Doug?
As far as, can we review this master plan ourselves instead of hiring another engineer?
I don't think so, Doug. There's a lot of information in there. You've got to look at the whole picture to understand all the interactions, all the different dimensions that are included in this master plan, and we've got Brian swamped. So he's already busy enough, and this is the easiest, most effective way to coordinate with the unit, with the borough. And frankly, we've got an offer of up to $40,000 between the two locations for paying for it from the university. So I think we're in great shape.
Yeah, and to explain that, I know that the borough has often asked the university to contribute towards some of the additional costs that the borough incurs, mainly police presence and police force. And the university always comes back with, well, we're constrained because we're a state agency, we don't have the budgeting. This planning process, a lot of these costs are paid by the foundation, and the foundation does have funds, and he said, here's an opportunity where we can make a contribution, recognizing that what we're doing costs both the borough and West Goshen money. So that's why they're making this, under the law, in a conditional use application, applicants are not required to reimburse the municipality for consultant costs. Land development review they are, but zoning they're not. And so this is something that the university felt was a gesture of trying to help aid in this process of getting a better master plan.
Just to give you an idea what the volume is, the stack is about that big of documents to review. Because I started to review it and it's overwhelming.
So how much would this end up costing the township?
We don't know. I mean, we don't know, and it was, I know one of the comments that the Borough Council had was we want a more concrete proposal for how long it's going to take Urban to look at all this. Until they get into it, they really can't, like I said, it's a very unique project. It's not looking at an isolated one lot, one project. It's looking at a campus, it's looking at a 10-year plan. And to one of your questions, I mean, I really think a planner is needed. I think that it's not a civil engineer job because you're not looking at details of stormwater management. You're looking at how can the goal of this campus-wide plan is that how can things that are being constructed in the borough but maybe have the parking be in West Goshen, how can we work together to avoid duplicative buildings, duplicative parking, more green space? So you need that like pedestrian connectivity. You need to look at it from a very high level, and I think a planner is the right person that does that.
And it's coming back to the cost question, when Brian and I were first discussing this option, we couldn't figure out a way to have someone estimate the amount of time that would be involved in this, so we just asked them for an hourly rate. Because we couldn't figure out how to quantify it.
Doug, also this project does cross boundaries, so if only I reviewed it, I'm only reviewing what's in West Goshen. By having one entity review it on behalf of both the borough and the township, they can review the whole plan and then provide their comments accordingly that are broken out towards the borough and towards us, but they're reviewing it as it's designed as a whole plan, it needs to be reviewed as a whole plan. I can only review, if it was kept in-house, what's in West Goshen. By doing a comprehensive, and then we have to share our review and coordinate it with the borough by our ordinance, and their ordinance requires them to coordinate and share their review with us. By having one entity do it under one contract, the review is shared and it meets all the requirements of the ordinance.
So the whole goal of this between us and Westchester Borough, and truthfully we'll probably share with East Bradford as well, because it crosses jurisdictional boundaries into East Bradford. The whole goal of this was to ensure that both municipalities were getting the exact same information.
So Borough Council capped it at 20,000, meaning they're not going to exceed.
I think they wanted to do that at the outset, just like to get their handle on exactly what they're doing. I don't think they mean to say that if Urban comes back to them and says, hey, there's some additional things or the Borough Planning Commission more importantly says, hey, we'd like you to look at this. I think at that point in time they'd go back to council and council would approve additional expenditures of funds. Same idea, they were just like, we don't want to have this open-ended checkbook not knowing and you could.
No, I'm recommending
same
the
condition,
same cap,
yeah.
and then we would come back to you if it exceeds that.
And I think after Urban actually gets what was filed and digs into it, they'll be able to give you a better estimate of what they think it's going to cost them and how much time.
And the $20,000 though is the amount the university has agreed to pay up to that amount. Is that correct?
Verbally, I don't have that in writing yet,
Not
so I
yet,
should be
but
getting.
Did the borough get that in writing from the university?
No.
I think he did. I don't know. He has made that offer on several occasions, and I will tell you that you can trust that offer. He would not make that, and he has not, Brian Nagel on applicant's council.
Well, we do need it in writing.
Yeah, we do. And I asked him today and copied Chris on the email to
And he
please send
has,
it.
when he told me that, he confirmed it verbally last week, he said he was putting something together in writing. So I believe that Brian has something forthcoming.
So assuming you pass it and agree to it tonight, later on, when the costs do come up, you'll be able to deliberate over that a little further and.
So we're going to approve something. If we approve it tonight, okay, we're going to approve it with a $20,000 cap for this review stage of work that's required by the engineer to get us to the conditional use hearings and provide us with all the information that we need to, as part of potential testimony, etc., for those conditional use hearings. Then that will be shared. So whatever that cost is, it's going to be split evenly between the borough and West Goshen. Then when the conditional use hearings start, the amount of hours spent by the engineer going through that conditional use process with the borough would be billed separately to them, and with us would be billed separately to us. And at that point, to what was mentioned earlier, if we've got other ongoing analysis needed or whatever else, and we've reached our $20,000 limit, then we have to reapprove whatever we're going to do with this level.
Okay, so you'll deal with that then?
Yeah.
You may not even need them to come to the hearing. It depends. Just depends.
So other questions? Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to approve the professional services proposal that we've received from Urban Engineers to review the Westchester University Master Plan with a cap of $20,000 in expenses to West Goshen Township.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any final comments or questions from the board or anyone in attendance? Okay, then we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? No. Hearing no opposition?
Actually, ask a question.
Do you want to ask a question before we complete the motion?
I just need to confirm, are the hearings joint together? They're separate?
They're gonna be
So
separate.
one for West Goshen, one for Westchester?
Correct. We had discussed doing a joint hearing, but logistically, it didn't really make sense as we thought about it.
No, I agree.
Okay, I'm not sure I heard all the votes, so I'm going to ask again. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Next is agenda item number 11, which is discussion and possible approval of resolution number 30, 2025, approving the 2026 minimum municipal obligations to the West Goshen Township pension plans. So before the board is proposed resolution number 30, 2025. This resolution would establish the 2026 financial requirements and minimum municipal obligations for the township's pension plans. The total MMO across the township's 3 pension plans for 2026 is $1,449,491, which is an increase of 2.7% compared to 2025. Please note that the state aid received by the township covers approximately 56% of this MMO cost based on the amount that we previously have received. However, that can be subject to change based on funding availability at the state. Questions from the board?
The MMO here that we have to pay, that's an increase of 2.7. That pretty much reflects the CPI, would you say? The rate of inflation?
I would agree with that, but it's also based on the fact.
It's really not dependent on CPI, it's dependent on their investment returns and the actuarial valuation of future obligations for the pension plan.
That's correct, plus payroll history. So if you look at some of the payroll history, it's declined a little bit on like the non-uniform side, which has limited the impact.
This calculation is based on the 3-year smoothing approach that we approved a year or so ago now, I think.
Correct, that's my understanding.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions from the board? I have one other question, Chris. The combination of the admin and sewer pension into one combined non-uniform pension fund, the contributions are actually made in October, I believe. So we would just combine the two numbers here that are shown for the two separate funds into one contribution to that new plan.
That's correct. When Jen Latzer was working on this with our actuary, she recommended to structure it this way, and then it would just be one deposit into the new non-uniform pension.
Like that.
Just because that's how it's structured currently, and this has to be approved by September 30th. But there is still going to, as discussed during that process, there's still going to have to be a portion of the MMO that comes from the sewer fund. So you'll still see an allocation in the sewer fund towards it.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, is looking for a board member to make a motion to adopt resolution number 30, 2025.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Nate. For a second. Thank you, Ashley. Any final thoughts, comments from the board or anyone in attendance? Good, Steve.
Sean, just give us the current levels of, like, I think we were at 97% for the police pension and 92% at the sewer.
So these calculations are actually based on, you know, the budget was set last year. We're just now making those contributions towards the tail end of this year. So those valuations fluctuate from one quarter to the next depending on investment returns in the quarter. So since the stock market's been doing well, I would imagine we're still remaining pretty well funded in all the pension plans.
And the MMO is separate from the valuation. The state law says that if you have a municipal retirement plan, you have to fund it to a certain level, and these calculations will come with the actuary to make sure we're meeting our funding obligations.
Any other questions? Okay, so we're ready to take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Agenda item number 12 is discussion and possible awarding of the bids for the Rosedale Avenue sidewalk project. Chris, would you mind introducing this one, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So before the board this evening is consideration to award the bids for the Rosedale Avenue sidewalk project. The bids were open on September 10th, 2025, and 13 bids were received for the project. The apparent low bidder is Delaware Environmental Construction Services of Newark, Delaware, as follows. Base bid of $62,000. Alternate bid for street trees, $1,442, and for a total of $63,442. I'll note for the bid results that including the alternate bid item, they range from $63,442 to $178,363. As the board is aware, a grant has been received in the amount of $85,368 from the Department of Community and Economic Development's local share account program for this project. I provided a recommendation letter from Chris Peterson of Carroll Engineering outlining his recommendations for the bid results. I will note that in a conversation with Mr. Peterson today, he did advise that he received the original bid documents and he has completed a reference check on Delaware Environmental Construction Services, and everything came back positive. So he believes that the conditions have been met.
Thank you, Chris. I previously asked you the question, I've had a chance to research it yet. So since the actual low bid is now below the grant amount that we've been slated to receive, does that mean the full cost of the project will be covered by the grant, or is the grant actually a proportional grant?
I believe the grant was only for construction, so I think we're going to be leaving some money on the table, but I have to verify that.
Well, we'd like to save the money for whoever it is. So.
And it's usually reimbursement based on actual costs.
Okay, so the design costs we've incurred with Carroll will be to the township's account. What about the construction oversight by Carroll or whoever?
I will go back and verify that, but I believe when I wrote the application in 2023, it was related specifically to construction. But I will go back and verify that.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, I have one.
Nate?
Has anybody discussed the impact of the proposed trees on the community garden with those people that take care of the community garden?
I'm not aware of any.
Do you oppose to it because of the potential shading of the community garden?
It's not that I'm opposed to the project.
Yeah,
Because
I mean the
somebody
trees.
should contact whoever runs that garden, make sure that it's all right.
I agree. I saw them out there working on it the other day, but I thought if we were to put trees there, it might
Yeah,
shade it. I
that's a
agree,
good
so
point.
much to talk to them about that.
So in terms of a way forward then, we can approve this tonight, and we can approve the alternate bid for the street trees, subject to review of whoever's operating the community garden. Or at least the scale of the trees, 'cause you know, it's not the whole length of the section of the road there, it's just maybe instead of, I don't know, how many 6 trees do we have? 7, maybe only need 3 or 4 in the end, something like that. Can we do it that way?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
I just make a comment, the bids that were received went from $62,000 to $166,000. It's quite a spread for the same project. I understand Mr. Peterson did his due diligence, getting references and all that, but they came in considerably lower than the other bids here. So just, he's going to have to keep a close eye on how they do the construction.
I'm confident that Carroll Engineering will have someone on site. I've also spoken with Mr. Peterson about having someone from our Public Works Department also out there, kind of as like a second set of eyes, and he thought that was a good idea. But the main driver behind, as he notes in his letter, the main driver behind the reduction in price is the belief that the construction can be completed without disturbing the block wall that's there. And he confirmed that, in my conversation with Chris today, he told me that he confirmed that with the individual for the company, and they feel very confident that they can do it without disturbing the block wall, and quite frankly, Chris does as well.
Okay.
Brian, have you any comments on the bids at all? Did anything stick out to you?
I mirror the concern about the spread, and Chris and I did speak about it.
Yeah.
And he indicated he spoke to the owner of the company. The guy he spoke to is actually the owner of the company. And it sounded like from my conversation with Chris that they actually visited the site. Some of these guys may not have visited, they just looked at the plans and looked at it from Google Street and said, oh, we gotta take that down, and they actually went. It sounded by the conversation, they visited it and made sure they knew what they were thinking.
Oh, good for them. Okay, I like the idea of either, additional help from Public Works being present or Carroll oversight keeping a keen eye on it would be good.
We'll have construction oversight, but I think it'd be good to have a second set of eyes from our Public Works Department on there as well.
Great. Okay, let me frame the motion then. So I will make the motion to award the Rosedale Avenue sidewalk project to Delaware Environmental Construction Services of Newark in the amount of $63,442, subject to the alternate bid of $1,442 for street trees being reviewed by the operator of the community garden on the street. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, John. Any comments or questions from the board or anyone in attendance?
Well, who's going to reach out to the coroner, whoever's taking care of it? Are you going to reach out to them?
I'll reach out to them. It's Calvary Lutheran Church, and I have the contact information. That's actually who I reached out to when we were first proposed with this idea, because I did not have any contact information for the property owner. So she was the one who put me in touch with the property owner.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions or comments? Okay, Steve?
Good job.
Finally. Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Agenda item 13, discussion and possible appointment of Isabella Savard as an alternate member to the Township Planning Commission. So, before the Board of Supervisors this evening is consideration to appoint Isabella Savard as an alternate member to the Township's Planning Commission. There is currently a vacancy for an alternate member as a result of the elevation of Steve to a regular voting member. If appointed, Ms. Savard would fill a term that expires in January 2027. Please be advised that this would fill all vacancies on the Planning Commission. So is Ms. Savard present tonight?
I don't believe that she is, but I will note, Mr. Chairman, that she met with the members of the Planning Commission at their meeting in September, and the recommendation to appoint her was unanimous.
Very good.
She has a meeting conflict, she's at another planning commission presenting the project tonight.
Is she an engineer?
She's an architect.
Very good. I'm delighted that she's interested in serving. Is there any questions or comments from the board? Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to appoint Ms. Savard as the alternate member? Thank you, Tina. Is there a second? Thank you, Ashley. Is there any questions or comments from anyone in attendance or the board? Yes.
On the State Forest Lake Farm, I just wanted to ask if we could be on the agenda for the next Board of Supervisors meeting. As an update for us.
I couldn't quite, what organization are you representing? Yeah, if you come to the mic, it would help us. If you don't mind stating your name, please, as well.
I'm Brittany Shuksa, and from the St. Forsyth Farm. We were just wondering if at the next Board of Supervisors meeting, there could be an update on the St. Forsyth Farm Conservancy that's been proposed.
Actually, you have to leave because I believe the township manager's comments and coming up on the agenda, he will give an update as to what has been happening since we filed the conservatorship petition. So if you wait a few minutes, you'll probably hear what you're looking for. Thank you. Is there any questions or comments related to the motion that is on the table for approval of the Rosedale Avenue sidewalk? I'm sorry, I'm getting confused myself now. It's getting late. Doug, do you have a question? Okay. All right, so we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Congratulations to Ms. Savard. Okay, we're up to reports for the month of August, and we start with the police report presented by Chief Carroll.
Thank you.
Thank you, Krista.
Thanks, guys.
Report from the police department for August 2025. We answered a total of 2,008 calls for service. 44 of those were alarms, and 3 of those alarms were found to be valid. We responded to 83 accidents, 25 of which were reportable accidents, and we drove a total of 15,782 miles on patrol. On speaking to the alarms, none of the alarms were at 7 for the highest fine violation. 2 were 6. A majority were first or second. 30 of the how many alarms I said? 30 to 44 were first or second offenses, which are open warnings. We performed 21 total assists to other departments for approximately 15 hours, and we received 24 assists from other police departments. And in the area of extra traffic enforcement, we were on Westchester Pike, Taylor's Mill Road, Snyder Avenue, Haley Pike, South High Street, North 5 Points Road, East Gay Street, Rosary Lane, and Route 100. In addition to our normal monthly trainings, myself and Captain Domidio attended the FBI National Conference. Lieutenant Grandizio continued his Northwestern School Police Staffing Command, which is he does it once a week. A bunch of our officers attended UTV training, so we're doing UTV for the park. Each of our officers getting trained for that. Officer Meager attended an officer-level leadership program, and Sergeant Spigarelli and Officer Ash attended TASER instructor school. I want to let you know that our next Coffee with a Cop will be on October the 3rd at 10 o'clock at the Starbucks inside the new Target. Our next community meeting will be October 9th at 6 p.m. in this room. 6? Oh, no. Coffee with a Cop is at 10. Yep. Community meeting's at 6. And then yesterday we celebrated Captain Domidio's 30th year here at Nova Scotia.
Congratulations to him.
Yeah. And that's the report from the police department. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the chief from the board or anyone in attendance?
I have a quick question. I see I remember seeing this in the news about the active shooter at Villanova University.
Yes.
I know that in the end, it was like a false alarm,
Correct.
some kind of a hoax. But I was interested that we responded to that, we assisted with that. Is that
We did.
because we have like an officer, it's just interesting, do we often assist to?
No. That is a one-off ever since I've been here.
Really?
But it was such a wide call.
Really?
They just needed help because it's such a big campus and they had a fixed spot where the person was, they needed all the help they could get, so they called out.
Philly cops and,
I'm sure Philly was there.
yeah.
All of them, Monaco, Delaware, I know Parksburg had officers there, so people went from very far away. Yeah.
Wow.
Any other questions for the chief? Okay, thank you, chief. Next is Board of Supervisors announcements. Hopefully they're brief. I'll start to my right, Ashley.
I will be very brief because I don't have any announcements.
All right, I like it.
Well,
Okay.
I can be that. All right, Thursday, August the 21st, I attended the Affordable Housing Seminar along with the Supervisors, Willis and Woolman, and also Township staff. Very interesting, a lot of information that was given there. And Monday, September the 8th, I had a curbside meeting along with residents of Delaware Avenue, along with our township engineer and our township manager to review their concerns about their stormwater growth in their neighborhood. We discussed short-term and long-term mitigations that can be done to deal with their issues. And on Tuesday, September 9th, I attended the Planning Commission meeting as a board last night. That concludes my report.
Thank you, John. Nate?
Yes, August 22nd, August 25th, I attended the Westchester Area School District Board meeting. August 28th, I attended the Historical Commission meeting, and September 2nd, I attended a meeting dealing with 905 West Town Road.
Thank you, Nate. Tina?
Yeah, a few things. August 13th, we had our Fire and EMS Coalition. Our next one's going to be on October 16th, where we did invite other townships to join us. So far, we have 3 definitely will be joining us, so we'll give a presentation on what our initiatives were, where we have been, where we want to go, and some of the issues we can try to resolve together. August 14th, I was at the Senior Center outlining some of the things that were happening in the community, including West Goshen and Chester County. August 26th, I attended the Chester County Chamber of Business and Industry event called Women in Government. It was very interesting. Many female elected officials were there and commissioners, so it was a great networking event, mainly for females. There were some males there. August 29th, I attended another chamber event, which was a monthly regulatory legislative review to keep updated on things that are happening not only in our community, but overall, and how the chamber can help us. On September 4th, I met with CEO Christine Zaccarelli. She had asked me if I would meet with her. She's from the Crime Victim Center, and basically to provide me with an update on what's happening with CVS, their goals, their accomplishments, their struggles, and their budget. On September 6th, East Goshen had their wine mixer at the Helicopter Museum, which was a very good event. It was well attended. 500 people were in attendance with a waiting list, so it was a great fundraiser for them. On the 7th...
that was a fundraiser for the Helicopter Museum?
No, for East Goshen, for their parks.
Okay.
But it was held at the Helicopter Museum, so it's a great idea. And
Was it like Friends of the Park?
yes, it was Friends of East Goshen, and it was a great fundraiser. It was like $50 per person. Like I said, they had 500 people. They had about 6 wineries there, so you had wine tasting the entire time. And then they had food trucks outside. There was like 4 food trucks that you could purchase food from. And then, of course, they had like a nice sculpture and pictures. And
East Goshen's parks, you know.
yeah, they did a really good job.
Props to them, yeah.
And they made a lot of money.
Very nice.
So it was a very nice event, very well attended. On September 7th, I did something a little bit different, put on by the Chester County Parks and Preservation. They were giving tours of the Hibernian Mansion in Chester County, which was really interesting. And they gave the history. It was like built in the 1700s, so that was interesting. September 8th, we had our COG meeting. We did do something together, actually. On September 9th, we had our meeting on Christmas lights that we're looking to do a Christmas display with lights the entire month of December. So it's going to be like kind of a celebration, incorporating a lot of the holiday festivities.
I think that's going to be on our agenda, right, Chris?
That'll be on, it's an unbudgeted expense, so that'll be on the agenda for the October 7th meeting.
Right, so we did do that together. And then I attended another chamber event on September 10th, which was a leadership series, and it was called Leading Through Times of Change for Nonprofits. Guest speaker was Executive Director of Tri-County Community Network. So I would encourage you to go on their website, we are members, and get involved in some of their community events. They're very good, very well attended, actually sold out every single one they have, and it's great networking. And they're free, most of them are free to members. think we should take advantage of. And some events may be $30 or some very small amount. That's it.
Thank you, Tina. The board met in executive session on September the 2nd and today, just prior to the meeting, to discuss police personnel matters. We also met in executive session on August the 22nd to review with the township manager progress against performance management objectives for the year. I attended the Chester County Planning Housing Workshop, as Mr. Hellman mentioned. I also met with Chris and Christine Riffey, our Finance Director, and Walt Wills, our Sewer Authority Treasurer, on August the 27th to discuss the 2026 Sewer Authority capital projects and possible transfer of funds from the township to the authority for budget planning purposes. And then this past weekend, I was able to help a resident with her donation of bicycles and a sewing machine for the Help See / other event that was held at the township. So it was great to see people donating clothing and bikes and sewing machines. So successful event, I think. That's it from me. We'll move on to the next agenda item, which is Township Manager's announcements. Chris.
Mr. Chairman, I'll start with the situation on 905 West Town Road, the conservatorship petition. So at the September 2nd meeting, the board did approve the submission of the conservatorship petition for the property. Carl Ewald, the appointed legal counsel for the township in this matter, he filed the petition with Chester County Court of Common Pleas on the evening of September 2nd. And additionally, on the 3rd, our zoning officer Shelby Smith properly posted the petition at the property, and we provided an affidavit of posting and documentation to Mr. Ewald. That's one of the requirements that we'll have to meet when it goes in front of the judge. The matter has been assigned to Judge Anthony Verway. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing his name, with the Chester County Court of Common Pleas. And then in an email to me last week, Mr. Ewald advised that a hearing on the petition has been scheduled for November 10th, 2025. So that's the next matter. I believe the property owner has been served with the information, because Mr. Ewald said he has been contacted with him. I won't go into the details of the conversation, but he has been contacted by the property owner. So there is a hearing scheduled in the Chester County Court of Common Pleas for November 10th.
Just also just a little bit more detail on that. It's November the 10th at 1:30 p.m. in courtroom 2, Chester County Justice Center.
Open to the public.
And then, as a matter, I know there's been some discussion regarding the decision was issued by Judge Gosh for the citations that were issued by the township. There's a hearing on that matter on October 2nd. The Chester County Court of Common Pleas also has been assigned to Judge Verway. That's going to be October 2nd at 10:30 a.m. at the Chester County Court of Common Pleas. And myself and Ms. Smith will be attending that on behalf of the township, as well as a representative from the Township Solicitor's Office. Just before I move on, are there any questions on that? I think I summarized everything. Is there any questions related to anything I stated related to the 905 matter? Yes?
When will the formal plan for the conservatorship be available, like in writing? I know at the last meeting it was discussed in person here, but when will it actually, all the steps and everything be in writing?
I believe that's what's going to be considered at the hearing on November 10th. Mr. Walsh read out in detail everything that's been submitted. So if you go back and look at the meeting recording from the September 2nd meeting, what Mr. Walsh stated is exactly word for word what was submitted to the court. So that's going to be considered as part of this hearing, I believe, on November 10th, but I don't think a decision is going to be issued at that time, because as Mr. Ewald stated, there are some other steps that have to be followed under the law. I think I accurately got all of that.
Petition to the court, because that is a publicly available document. Mr. Ewald find I've done the exact way to access the document.
It's a public document, so
yeah.
If you file a right to know request, I have a copy of it. I'm happy to provide it to you.
Is that it would provide the steps of like the engineer will decide and then talk to who, like we kind of wanted to know what the process would be.
It doesn't lay it out in that much detail. It just talks about a general process, because my understanding of what you have to submit is like a preliminary review of everything. So it's very preliminary. So until whatever engineer is brought in analyzes it, they can't really outline those steps. It's just based on the information that they have available to them.
The key next step is the judge reviewing our petition and making a decision as to whether to move that forward and also to hear from the property owner at that hearing as to his objections or not to what's happening, and we'll be more informed after that day.
And also to appoint a conservator for the property.
Any other questions on that?
Isn't that the purpose of the hearing, to put it into a conservatorship? The proposition to make it.
My understanding is that, yes, that's part of the process. My understanding is there's a hearing, and I don't know if a decision is going to be rendered that day. It's got to go through a defined process in the law.
Yes, sir, you had a question?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, Board, in the event that it is approved through the judge, will the township engineer have any capacity in the assessment?
He will not.
No, that's all through the conservator. If the conservatorship is approved, the conservator does everything in hand, and it's all done third party through the conservator, not anything with the township.
Nothing, even though it's township property?
It is not township property.
Let me take that back.
Township petition.
Private property, but it resides in the township.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on 905 West Town? Yes?
Will there be any plan for preservation for the property since it does have historical significance?
So if you, at the last meeting, we talked about specifically what the conservator is proposing in terms of the way forward, and they will be bringing in their engineer to review the situation, the structure, its condition, and to make an economic assessment of the feasibility of rehabbing the property versus demolition to remove it. We were very clear at the meeting with the attorney for the conservatorship process that unfortunately, given what the condition of the property and how it looks, the most likely course of action will be a demolition, unfortunately. Okay, any other questions?
Sorry, one more. Who decides the economic feasibility? Because obviously there's a lot of historic alliances that would love to be able to help that property, but the fact that they're unable to is what's keeping that from happening. So who will decide the economic feasibility of that?
So my understanding, and I'm obviously not an expert on this, is that the conservator makes the proposal to do the evaluation. If the judge approves the conservator to move forward with the process, the conservator with the engineer will be doing the assessment and figuring out the economic viability and making the decision and the recommendation to the judge to remove the blight through demolition, if that is economically the only way forward.
But ultimately, it's the decision, it rests with the judge.
If the judge approves their proposal based on the engineer's recommendation, then that would be the course of action. Okay.
One more thing, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. Thank you so much. There was a question about the goal of the conservatorship was to make the property safe. Safe is, who defines that? Like safe interior?
The goal is under the Blighted Properties Act is to remove the blight, the unsafe condition, and the hazard to the public welfare. So the first course of action would be to, can you renovate, get this property back in inhabitable shape in an economically acceptable manner? And if the answer is no, then to remove the blight under the petition, which is what this is, then demolition would be the proposed course of action. I mean, if someone was to come in, and I'm going to be theoretical here, and say, I want to preserve this historic property and I'm willing to pay, I'll make a number up, $10 million, the hell with the cost, I'm going to build this thing back up from the ground. Of course, that would be a potential course of action, but that is not what the conservatorship process is about. So, they're going to look at, does it cost more to refurbish this property than the economic value, the value of the property once it's been redone? If the answer is no, then to remove the blight would be demolition. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. The township offices will be closed on Monday, October 13th in recognition of Columbus/Indigenous Peoples Day, but there will be no change to trash and recycling collection. In terms of our 2025 paving program, Carroll Engineering has finalized the closeout of the paving program. There was one change order based on a review of the quantities that were installed, and it actually reduced the project cost by $43,091.72. So the awarded amount was $940,777, and the final payment that will be issued will be $897,685.28. I believe the primary reasoning for that was there was less base repair than originally anticipated. In terms of the pension plan merger, the board had approved those ordinances on August 19th. We've been in touch with both PNC and Bryn Mawr Trust to merge the assets, which will be effective October 1st, as outlined in the ordinance. We did receive communication information from the township actuary for both employees and pensioners, and those communications have been issued to everybody involved. In terms of, I'm just going to hit a few high notes. In terms of the Building D solar energy array project, Terrasol did complete troubleshooting of the monitor setup on September 8th. Mike Capico, our Assistant Public Works Director, did confirm that the monitor is active and indicating the power generation data. This is necessary so that we can complete our filing with the PICO Solar Incentive Program, and which requires 2 months of inverter data for that submission. So now that the monitoring issues are resolved, Terrasol is scheduling a final closeout training with the township staff for operation and maintenance. In addition, the township's registration information with the Internal Revenue Service for the available payment on the Inflation Reduction Act has been approved, and we've been assigned a registration number. But before we can file, we have to complete final payment for the project. And in speaking with Kirsten Izak from Houston Engineering Group, she anticipates that final payment will occur in November. So I've asked the township's finance director to carry forward that revenue into the 2026 budget. In terms of the North Hill Storm Sewer Project, construction commenced on September 2nd, 2025. We did have an issue that occurred as part of the project, and I want to commend Brian. Really dealt with the individual that was involved in this, and he did a very good job dealing with them. There was an unmarked line that was damaged that resulted in a Comcast outage for someone. We did confirm that it was unmarked, that it wasn't properly identified, and both Brian and Mark Bertolami, our Public Works Director, did work to address those concerns. I don't know if service has been restored yet, but
I have not heard a complaint from the property owner,
so I'm assuming service has been restored. But other than that, construction has been going on pretty well. We've had good communication with the Civic Association and the individuals who have granted us easements. This was outside of the easement area. This wasn't someone that we had an easement with. It was completely unmarked. So, and then in terms of upcoming community events, we have our Movies in the Park coming up starting on Saturday, September 20th, running through October 18th. Next Traffic Safety Committee will be on September 18th. The Police Pub Community Meeting will be October 9th. And then the fall yard sale will be October 11th throughout the township. Our next yard waste collection day will be October 18th.
Well, coming up in September is this Saturday, I think.
I must have missed that on the calendar. I
I
apologize.
think it's one this Saturday.
And then the e-waste collection and shred event at the township will be October 18th from 9 to 12 p.m.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions for the township manager?
Just a question about the status of the final 2024 audit statements. Have we received them? And have we received them yet?
We have not received them yet.
What would be the consequences for missing the deadline to submit a report to the Delaware Valley Regional Authority by the end of September? Is there any negative consequences upon the township?
I'm not aware of any negative consequences other than we would just be marked as delinquent like we were with our other bond financing.
I mean, the document we got that was the basis for the presentation we had, isn't that considered the final report?
It has to go through review and sign off from the management team, so we're still waiting on that. We did secure an additional 10% reduction in our audit fees, so the total reduction will be 20% for both the authority and the township.
Good. Any other questions for the township manager? Okay, we'll move on to agenda items 17, township engineers announcements.
I have several announcements tonight. First one we'll start with is an update to our PRP plan. So since our last meeting and update, which was a year ago, we've made some progress on our PRP plan, as you see in front of you. Currently constructed, we have the Ottawa Basin, we have the sewage treatment plant buffer, we have Pine Valley, and we have the final closeout documentation for the Government Service Center Basin. What you see in front of you here is the chart. The Idlewild Basin and the Pine Valley Detention Basin were both previously constructed. The sewage treatment plant buffer, which was a comment for the amount of our reduction, which in the plan was 3,326 pounds per year. However, HRD did submit a report to DEP when they closed out the grant, and in their grant closeout report, they indicate that the reduction achieved by the buffer as planted was 30,000, and they submitted, I have the report, it's going to be in our 5-year report and also in our annual report. Additionally, I have a report from Chris Peterson for the Government Service Centers Basin. The design in the anticipated reduction in our PRP was 15,691 pounds, and we have achieved 17,815 through their design. So they were able to achieve a larger reduction with a smaller drainage area than what was proposed under the HRG plan by doing their retrofit. So currently we have built 57,871 pounds of reduction for our PRP, which is about 15%. So there. We have on the books right now a completed design, which we're still working on getting the easements for, which is the Basin Road Stream Restoration. That design will achieve 64,440, that's why it's in blue. And once we get to that project will take us to 30% of our reduction requirements.
And just to add on to that, we do have the easement document. It's been provided to the property owner, and we're just waiting for them to sign off on everything.
This is the temporary easement.
That's correct.
Last piece is our 2 stream and floodplain restoration projects, one which is in Barker Park and one which is in Goose Creek behind Aldi. I have been in contact with Land Studies. They are finalizing their feasibility reports. I anticipate receiving them within the next 2 weeks to review them and go over them with Land Studies. Once they're finalized, I will schedule them to come before the board to present them. So
they will provide an estimated
yes.
reduction, right?
So these numbers will be changed accordingly in the future, but until we have that, until you decide if they're going to be these viable projects to go forward. Quick Greystone update. Last Thursday, the 11th, myself and members of the Public Works Department walked all of the roads in Greystone. This is for the pre-paving inspection. We walked everything you see yellow and red and orange except for phase 6. This area right here was not walked because the house was just still under construction. Sidewalk is not complete, so it couldn't be. So we did all of Gershwin, we did all of this area of the age restricted. We finished, finalized the townhomes, actually the twins, and this loop on the north side. So there's probably about 90 to 100 driveways need to be repaired. It's a lot. There's not much other than the sidewalks and the driveways that were bad, and there's a lot of curb damage to be repaired. Once that's done, Carol will confirm that they're all been repaired and then they're looking to do their final payment for those areas. Aram Avenue was not part of this site law. Last thing, 2 more things quickly. One is I was contacted Friday, I responded yesterday to PennDOT regarding the Route 3 and 202 signal. They asked about any issues, if we have any issues out there. I did speak with Captain DeVideo. He did get me a list of all the reportable accidents at that since June 1st. I provided that to PennDOT, so that's going to delay the 30-day closeout because of the information I provided yesterday. So we're going to be using that to, as hopefully analyzing it, maybe doing something on the west side of the bypass for advance warning. But PennDOT is aware of our issues. And the last thing I have for you is I went out yesterday and as an update, I did fly the basin again yesterday to show you how it's currently vegetated. This is the Government Service Center basin. It was just, the brown you see is they just went in a week ago for their maintenance and did where they clear out all the high vegetation with trimmers. So it's not mowed, it's actually hand trimmed. You can see the flowers are growing in the spaces, it's vegetating very well. So I'll be flying this once a month or so, give or take, for the year monitoring it. And this is what it currently looks like. And just to give you an idea of what it looked like in June, the day it was, this is what it looked like back in June. So you can see the difference, how much is vegetated already. So that's the extent of my report for tonight.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions for the township engineer?
Do you have any anticipated date when we'll be able to take medication?
I heard
Generally, a monthly?
I heard from their council and from the HOA that they're looking at next year.
Springtime, summertime, any idea?
It may be financial for them. I know that they wanted to get the roads done first. So that was their request of me, was to push the roads. I did give them a punch list for the trails on August the 6th.
That punch list was down to less than 20 items, if I remember right.
Well, when I went out on August the 6th, there was a lot of damage from the summer storms that they hadn't repaired. Okay. So that's where I went, took pictures of all the damage and showed them a picture of all the damage they did repair. And I don't know if they're going to say, yeah, we'll repair it now, or we'll wait and do everything right before we're going to dedicate it, because it's a constant chase their tail.
Okay. Any other questions for Brian? All right, thank you, Brian. We'll move on to the zoning officer's announcements, agenda item 18, Shelby.
Honestly, I have nothing significant to report this evening, down to the fact that there's not even a zoning hearing board hearing this month.
So there's no applications in flight?
No applications received.
Okay. Any questions for Shelby? All right. We'll move on to agenda item number 19, approval of the Board of Supervisors meeting minutes for August 19th. I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for August 19th. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ashley. Is there any corrections, comments, or issues from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll just note I did receive one typo from Mr. Wallman, and I made that correction to the minutes.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from anyone in attendance? Okay, then I'll take a vote. All in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Agenda item number 20 is approval of the Treasurer's Report dated August 31st, 2025 for the General Fund, the Sewer Revenue Fund, the Waste and Recycling Fund, and the Capital Reserve Fund, and the bills to be paid from these funds. I'll make a motion to pay the bills from the funds as just described. Is there a second? Is there any questions or comments on the bills to be paid or the Treasurer's Report from the board? Is there any point in attendance with any questions on the bills list? Okay, then we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Motion passes 5-0. A motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:23. Is there a second? Thank you, Nate. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you, everyone.